Hey guys, happy May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'm wearing my Star Wars sweatshirt. It's low key, my boss was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, came into my office, and I was like, I like your shirt, and he tried to explain it to me, and I was like, no, I know the holiday. I am also wearing a Star Wars shirt, and he was like, oh, I couldn't see it because it's so dark in here. I work with my light turned off in my office. It's a very, there's a emergency light that's always on. I used to be bothered by how dark it was, but over time I got lazy and stopped turning the light on, I guess. So I work in a pretty dark office. But that must not be that unheard of, because my boss also works in a dark office. And then the Amazon graphics team, the entire cubicle area that had 20 people in there, they used to work with the lights off with just the Christmas twinkle lights. And I used to think that was weird, but now I'm one of them, I guess. But yeah, having a pretty decent week. I hope you all are well. Tax season got pushed back in the US. It's year 2021, in case anyone's watching this really old video, to May 17th. And so I don't talk about what I do for a living very often, so I guess I can talk about it now. I print secure documents from a very secure office, and I mail them. I'm part of a print and mail team, so to speak. And I print W-2s that got lost in the mail. I don't ship the mass bulk of them. I just reprint and mail off the wayward few, or if somebody's W-2 is incorrect, some team in another place will produce a W-2C, and I will print that and I'll mail that. And generally speaking, maybe I print 30 tax documents a day. Not a lot. It's not the bulk of my work. But as this deadline for submitting your taxes has approached, it's kind of kicked up, maybe 70 a day or something like that. And more I've been having to ship things rush, next day air, which takes a little bit extra time because I have to go to a different computer and type in the address to get that out. But anyway, come to work yesterday on Monday, and the queue that's normally 30 tickets or something was 540, and they all need to be next day aired. And I'm like, what in the hell am I supposed to do? Because that's just more work than I can accomplish in one day, and it's not like we had any heads up so that we staffed up for that kind of production. So I have been busting my booty trying to get everyone's tax documents out, make everyone happy. I know that that's a stressful thing, and you want to get your taxes submitted on time. So trying to make it happen quickly so that everybody is well taken care of. But that's kind of professionally what I've been busy with. But yeah, yesterday I wanted to make a video about something, and then I realized it was raining and my window wipers were going blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I can't drive home and talk out loud at the same time without it being very distracting. So I kind of wanted to tell you what I was thinking about yesterday. It's funny because a lot of these videos I'm just talking about what's going on right now in my day-to-day, and it's not very look back and tell old stories around campfire. That's not the format I'm going for. But yesterday I was listening to a podcast. I listen to podcasts all day long because my job is very boring, and if I didn't listen to podcasts, I think I'd fall asleep at the computer doing my repetitive 7-click action for each trouble ticket. But so I listen to, just to go over my podcast day to day, I usually listen to Democracy Now! That's my daily news. And then I need something lighthearted, so I will listen to Dumb People Town, which is a comedy podcast where they kind of riff on our, current events where dumb people did dumb things. And then I will go back to seriousness, and I'll listen to the CBS morning news highlight, which is usually about something relevant, like pop culture wise, but it's usually news. It's not total reality TV trash news. Usually they're talking about a movie that's getting critical acclaim, or a deep dive into an issue of the time. But anyway, so then to lighten it up again, I will listen to some nerd podcasts. And actually, I am very pleased. Marvel Comics paired with some people in the audio storytelling world, and they put out a podcast called Marvels, and it's actually a adaptation from the graphic novel of the same name. And my husband loves the Marvel universe, so I'm pretty fluent in it. And then on top of that, I'm a pretty big X-Men fan myself, so I can hold my own in X-Men comic lore. But this podcast was about the Fantastic Four, which I don't know much about. And I wanted to listen to this podcast actually because there is a podcast called Archive 81 that I adore, and the creator said, hey, a lot of really talented people I know are working on the sound design of this. If you like my podcast, why don't you go listen to it? And if he told me to yell into the void, I would, because I love them. I love everything that they're putting out. Their creative approach to audio stories is beautiful and tickles my bones in a way that is almost religious. So anyway, ran out, went and listened to that podcast, and I've been listening to like one a day for a week or two. And then today, oh my God, it was like, it was just building a momentum to the climax of this podcast story. And so I listened to 4 episodes in a row. And I'm glad that I listened to it, and I'm sad that it's over. But anyway, I'm going to go read the graphic novel tonight, because now that I have finished it, I'm like, oh, I need more. I want more. But I don't think it's going to get me into the Fantastic Four franchise, but I am happy to know it a little bit better. And actually, it's really funny. There's a podcast I listen to also called Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, and they were doing a story arc that also had to do with the Fantastic Four. And so I felt like just everything was lining up, very synchronicity of it, to have a lot of Fantastic Four in my life this week. But I was enjoying their insight into the family as well. But anyway, so my podcasts kind of go like that. And then so after I finish my nerdy podcast, I will listen to Behind the Bastards, where they go into a deep dive of the worst people in history. And normally that's a real downer again, and so I have to rebound by listening to something a little more lighthearted. And my choice is I'm forgetting the name of it. It's something Legends. But yeah, it's just one of those podcasts that looks into like paranormal and just stories. I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. Man, my brain is fried. Like I said, my job is really boring, so some days are harder than others. And I was a little worried about my brain function today also, because last night I woke up and I fed the baby at 10 p.m. and then I swear he got up at 11 again, and that normally he gives me a 2-hour break between feedings or longer. And so I was really just out of sorts, where I was like, well, what do I do when he wakes up an hour after I've already fed him? Clearly he's not hungry anymore. But I was just like, I didn't know how to parent in that moment. I was like, baby? How do you care for a baby? And my mom, when she hears him crying, she'll come relieve me, because she knows I got to get up and go to work in the morning. And so she came in, and I'm like, I don't know what he needs, but he's upset. And she goes, I'll change his diaper and rock him back to sleep. And I'm like, thank you so much, Mom. You're amazing. So I went back to sleep, but like my brain was like so distraught that I didn't feed the baby. So I just dreamed about not doing right by my child for the next hour. And then he woke up again at midnight, which would have been the normal time, and I fed him. But yeah, my brain's just not been very, very quick these past couple days. But I am a little sleep deprived, so that might be it. But anyway, I am very roundabout getting to the point, which was yesterday. I wanted to tell you guys a story based on something I heard in Dumb People Town. And they were talking about somebody nude in the woods. I mean, they're always talking about dumb stuff. It's a really funny podcast. I go back and I'm listening to like the archives from like 2 years ago where the stories aren't even like new, but they're so funny to me. And if anything, I think I might re-listen to Dumb People Town when I get through the backlog, because I truly feel inspired by their jokes. Like, what they say is so funny. I want to draw fan art. I want to map out on Google Maps all of these crazy places. At one point, they made a joke saying like, oh man, someone should make a Clue game, but instead of doing the regular Clue suspects and murder weapons and all that, they use these dumb people names and the dumb people items that they've stolen, or, you know, whatever their crazy stories are. But anyway, they were talking about a naked man in the woods, and that brought me to a memory that, I mean, where do you pull out these memories unless you're at a party and everyone's being quite lively and you've got a good audience? But this is my story of the naked man. So I was picking blackberries in a trail behind the hospital in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I can't even tell you how I discovered this place, but I know I used to walk my dog back there. I think somebody at one of my jobs had said like, oh, you like picking blackberries, you should go behind the hospital, they've got some trails, they also have raspberries. And I'm like, bam, free raspberries, I'm there. But anyway, on this particular sunny day in the summer, probably of 2008, because it was before I graduated college, and I was working at J. Crew, and I was living in Lynchburg, so it must have been around that time. I was picking blackberries. I don't think I had my dog with me that time, and out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody approaching on the trails, and they are completely nude. And I remember, like, you're very aware that there's a naked man walking on the trails toward you, but what do? You know, like, I'm not one to run away. I'm gonna keep picking my blackberries, but I also didn't really want to interact with him, and I didn't want to look at his nudity. But I remember seeing him and thinking, oh man, somebody played a really mean joke on him. He's nude in the woods and he doesn't even have shoes, which I don't know a lot of nudists, so I can't ask like, hey nudist, do you wear shoes when you're practicing your nudity? But this gentleman did not have shoes, and it was a gravelly, hard path. I would not walk barefoot on it. So I was feeling bad for him, but I also did not want to interact with a naked man. And so I continued my chore of picking the blackberries. But I am thinking like, oh man, if he tries to attack me, I'm gonna jump into this blackberry bush because I've got clothes on at least, and he is completely nude, and it will hurt him more than it will hurt me. Which I guess that says something about the world we live in, that we automatically assume a naked man is gonna assault us. But anyway, so I proceed to ignore him, even though I'm very aware of him, and he walks past me, and I'm like, well, that was not climatic, thankfully. The nude gentleman is gone. And then, of course, I lit my guard down. I hear a little voice behind me go, hey, what you doing? And I turn around, and there is the naked man. And I guess he hadn't really walked past me. He just, like, strolled by slowly, and I think he was trying to see what I was going to do. But I wasn't really looking to have a conversation with him until he started it. But I was like, I'm picking blackberries. And he goes, oh. And I said, would you like to try one? And he said yes. So I, reach out my bowl to him, and he picks a berry out of it. And he comments on if they tasted good or whatever. And he starts to walk away. And I'm like, well, I survived the naked man. And then, you don't ever totally let your guard down. But I look up to make sure he's leaving, and instead I see he is running back toward me. And again, I'm like, well, I'm going to jump in this bush if that gentleman comes too close and scares me. And he runs up to me, and he says, hi, I just wanted to thank you. And I'm like, why? And he said, normally when I walk naked out here, people are very mean to me and they threaten me, and you were very nice, so thank you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he goes, and that was the last time I saw the naked man. But I did go home that day, and I Google searched like Lynchburg Trails nudist, trying to figure out if anyone else had captured this story in the local newspaper or whatnot, but couldn't find any information on him, so I'll never know. But he did tell me that he was a nudist. Like, he had to explain why he was naked. And I was like, yes, I see that. But I guess the lack of shoes was an intentional choice on his part, which I was surprised by. But anyway, that's my naked man story. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will be uploading more videos soon. Y'all take care.